Moving with the times is always challenging. People don't like change and can sometimes have the, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of attitude, you know? But in today's digital world, it's important to get businesses up and running in a digital level to stay alive. Get ready for a very exciting exchange between Gisbert Rühl, who successfully transformed Kloeckner & Co., and the well-known digital expert and CEO of Axel Springer, Christoph Keese. They're going to talk about the do's and don'ts, the fears and challenges when it comes to digitalizing a traditional business. Please welcome to the stage Gisbert and Christoph.
Thank you. So, welcome everybody. Anybody here is not speaking German? Okay, so we stick to German. We stick to English. I'm sorry. My name is Christoph Keese. I'm with Axel Springer, and Gisbert Rühl is CEO of Kloeckner, which is a steel trading company. And what we want to do in the upcoming slot is we're going to talk about digitalization of heavy-duty industry companies like a steel trader. So there's so much talk about digitalization of platform industries, of B2C platforms. What's about traditional businesses and traditional value creation chains like steel trade, for example? You have gone, Gisbert, very aggressively into digitizing your own business, which is a trade business, and you have achieved an astounding 30% of your sales today is on a digital platform called Kloeckner.ai. You have even founded a second platform. Why did you start a platform business in the first place?
Yeah, we started about 5 years ago in 2014 already, because our very traditional steel distribution and service center business is a very low margin business. And the incremental improvements we made throughout the years didn't have any impact on our results. For instance, we had 5 years ago, or in 2011, we had 13,000 employees. We have now 8,000 employees, nearly the same sales volume. So we increased our efficiency significantly, but without any impacts on the results. So 4 or 5 years ago, we decided that we have to change our business model and more to a platform business. So the vision at that point in time was to establish in our industry a platform, an open platform, which connects all participants in the industry, so that we're using our incumbent know-how on the one side, and to leverage this incumbent know-how in a platform business on the other side. And we have now 2 hubs, if you like. So one hub is Kloeckner.ai. Here we developed within the last couple of years all these proprietary platforms, and then Xom Materials, which is an open platform for all participants in our industry.
What I find interesting about your case is, and I think for just a second, without wanting to bore you, to give you a little detail on how steel trade works. So just imagine a steel mill, like Mittal, for example, or ThyssenKrupp. They're producing steel, and once it's being produced, traders like your company, Kloeckner, come and buy it and take it on their own book. So they spend working capital on acquiring all this material, put it on the courtyard, and wait for the customer to come. When the customer comes, they sell it in detail, so in little lots. And in the meantime, a lot of working capital is bound on your own books. So your working capital, if I remember it correctly, is roughly 1.3 billion.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm. 1.3 billion. And it's not only that the net working capital is bound, steel prices are very volatile. So you also have a huge risk with the steel you have in stock, especially when now, like in the first half of this year, when steel prices nearly collapse, then you take all the risk having this steel in stock.
Very good point. And when you just imagine that you're always having 1.3 billion on working capital, and it's never going to go away, even if your business is running very well, you need to replenish your supplies all the time. This means that you could be doing a lot of other stuff with that money, so you have to kind of account for the opportunity cost. So let's say opportunity cost would just be 10%, then your cost of capital actually is roughly 130 million, which is an amazing amount of number, which is kind of hard to earn with the trade business.
Yeah, and it's even getting better in the platform business where you don't need, you don't need networking capital at all.
So how does it work on the Gisbert? On your platform business, the platform does not acquire the material from the steel mill, does it?
No. The platform connects steel mills, distribution and service centers, so the mid-level and the customers, and facilitates transactions between these participants. And the platform gets an annual fee and a take rate from each transaction. So it's a completely, if you like, it's a completely digital business, finally, this platform business.
And it doesn't buy stuff on its own books, so the working capital is very, very low, almost zero.
Almost nothing.
It's almost nothing. So what you're freeing, if this were to become 100% of the business, you would have freed 1.3 billion in working capital. It's not 100% yet, but what you have announced, or just told us, is 30% today, and I think you have announced it to be 60% in a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's even better because finally we're moving in two directions. So our traditional Kloeckner business, we're transforming this also in a way that we want to do more or less, in 2022, 60% of our sales digital. And then we have this XOM platform is a separate business, a separate venture. Also, by the way, with the Chinese wall to Kloeckner, because here also competitors are selling their products, and we are not allowed to look into their data, of course. So that's a completely different setup and business, which is, by the way, also competing with our proprietary platform.
That's a very important point to understand. So you started with one platform called Kloeckner, and Kloeckner is trading your own products plus complementary products.
Yeah, right.
So you're doing steel pipes, for example, but you don't do copper pipes, and you have copper pipes on there by somebody who is not your direct competitor, but having a complementary product. And after being successful with this, you started a second platform called XOM Materials, XOM Materials, inviting your direct competitors to be part of the platform and also to invest into the platform.
Right. So we are near to close the first financing round because we have to make this platform finally independent from Kloeckner. So finally, Kloeckner will only own less than 50% of this platform to make sure that this is really an independent platform, because the platform, when the platform is successful, it also disrupts Kloeckner to a certain extent, because the platform moves itself between us and our customers, and the platform also takes over a certain or significant part of the margin. And because of this, we have to make it independent. First, by the way, we wanted to open our proprietary platform also for competitors, but this does not work because I think we were able to convince our people that digitalization is necessary also in our business, but convincing them that the fiercest competitors are now customers, if you like, on your own platform, that doesn't work.
Yes.
That's was the reason why we then made a separate venture, which is, as mentioned already, independent with a Chinese wall from Kloeckner.
Interesting. And now just imagine the CEO of a company goes to his shareholders and his employees saying, listen guys, what I want to do now, I want to sell my direct competitor's product on my platform. This sounds like crazy. What did people, helping your direct competitor to reach your own customer base is somewhat weird. So what was at least untraditional? It makes a lot of sense, but it's untraditional. So how did your people, how did your shareholders react to it?
To be honest, when we announced this vision 5 years ago, most of the people were probably thinking that I'm somewhat crazy, especially in our industry. So the steel industry is not really
known for creativity.
It's really an old-fashioned industry, and they were thinking, okay, that guy might be crazy, and but in the end, they were skeptical. First, they were thinking I was crazy. Then they were skeptical, and now I think they at least accept that it could be something going forward. And the value creation, by the way, would be when the platform is successful as a separate business. then the platform, the valuation of the platform business will be much higher than of our traditional business. Because the valuation for a platform business is completely different.
Because it needs much less working capital. It's much more capital productive. Now, let's look into the future, maybe not the imminent future, but a bit distant future. Today, we're living in a push economy. So the steel mill produces the amount of steel that they figure might be needed, but they don't really know it. They just produce it, and they produce much of it is on stockpile. And you buy on just an assumption on what your consumers want. So the entire industry is a push economy. When we are moving into a digital economy, this is going probably to confirm, would be interested to hear your opinion on that, into a pull economy, where millions and billions of sensors trying to estimate what the consumers want, do predictive analysis, and only buy the stuff, like from a pull point of view, that is really, really needed. So are we moving from a push economy to a pull economy?
Yeah, definitely, and we have to, by the way, because the waste we are producing in our industry is significantly. Also, currently steel is being shipped from Northern Europe to Southern Europe and the other way around. So there is a lot of steel being shipped around, which is completely unnecessary. And a lot of steel is being stocked, which is completely unnecessary. And with a platform, going forward, when we scale the platform further, then we can predict much better, also for the participants on the platform, the demand in certain regions. And with this, we might then come more, or we will come over time to a more pull-oriented
So what this
economy
approach does is it takes out inefficiencies from existing systems, right? So it's somewhat comparable to what B2C platforms do in a way, is it?
Yeah, it's in the end, I would say it's more complicated. It's also more complicated to scale such a platform. So we have 40 suppliers on the platform. We have, interestingly, by the way, big Russian producers on the platform who want to use the platform to open for them more the European market, and something we didn't expect, by the way, in the beginning. So more and more participants joining the platform, but the bottleneck is to enable them to sell their steel digitally, because they often don't have any idea how this works. They don't know, they have no product catalog, they don't know anything about online marketing, they don't know how to price on a platform, and also strategically. So for instance, producers typically selling supplying a lot of steel to the mid-level, to distributors and service centers, but with a platform they have also much better access to their end customers, and all this they have to learn, or they have to be enabled to do finally business on the platform, and yes. This makes it more complicated, I would say, in B2C, where you can open an account at Amazon and then order something.
Gisbert, when we look at the top 10 list of the most valuable companies in the world measured by market capitalization on the stock markets, we will find that 7 out of 10 companies today are B2C platform companies. Alibaba, Tencent, Amazon, even Apple, which might in a way be considered as a platform company not only for their digital services but also for production, because they don't have a factory. When you look at it today, so 7 out of 10 are B2C platform companies, amazing. But when you turn the clock forward to, let's say, another 10 years, 2029, would you think it's fair to say that there will be B2B platform companies within the top 10? So are we going to see a shift from B2C platform to B2B platform business?
Yeah, maybe not a shift. So I expect, by the way, that some of these B2C or consumer-oriented platforms are also more developing into B2B.
Like Alibaba,
Alibaba, Amazon, and if you like, also Google with their platforms. This is also a platform for Industry 4.0, and so they approach also more and more B2B. But in the end, B2B is, of course, these are, of course, huge markets. When you take only steel and metals in Europe and North America, this is already a 300 billion. 300 billion
markets.
So these are huge markets. And so I would expect that at least some of them will, at that point in time, have also very significant B2B business. Amazon is in the US, I think already the 10 largest B2B business or B2B platform already.
Plus one other argument I keep hearing is that B2C platforms, by definition, are just one step in the value creation chain. It's from the last producer to the first consumer, so just one step. But a B2B platform can integrate an entire value chain from raw product up till basically the last producer, which in many cases are 15, 20 different steps. And if you integrate 15 steps, it should by definition be more sizable and maybe even more valuable than just one step.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So in the end, when you take steel, okay, in the end it's also B2C business finally. No?
Because I'm buying a car that uses steel.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Yes. Now, when you look at this B2C platform business, the Europeans and the Germans have pretty much lost out. There's not much happening here, it hasn't much happened. So we have kind of missed the train. On B2B, there is at least a glimmer of hope that we might be able to redeem and to catch up in B2B platforms. Are you seeing sizable moment? Do you see that the German industry, the German manufacturing is kind of waking up to the challenge and getting the job done?
I'm a bit concerned. I'm a bit concerned. A good example for me is always the automotive industry. When I'm seeing that the automotive industry is still trying to develop their own operating systems. So Volkswagen is developing their own operating system, Daimler is doing it. And when I'm seeing then on the other side that Android Automotive is probably 5 years ahead of concerning the operating system for a car, especially then for an autonomous car. So I would say if they want to be successful, they have to collaborate. And this is still very difficult in these traditional industries where companies competed
among themselves, you're saying.
But for instance, in this case, the automotive companies would have, in my point of view, would have to collaborate. Then they might have a chance, but everyone on its own will not work. And same is, by the way, also in our industry. Why is no other one developing such or establishing such a platform? Because they all think proprietary. They all think that they have to do it by themselves, but when you think it from a customer point of view, there is no way which is more convenient than if you have one interface through which you can buy all kind of metal, steel and metal products. So it cannot be a proprietary platform in the end. So it has to be...
Because no customer is going to have 5 different platforms.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Good point. Now, in some cases, the car industry does collaborate, like with HERE, for example, the navigation system, which the big premium companies decided to acquire together and do it together. But this is just, it doesn't go to operating systems. So what would you advise Daimler or BMW to do? Should they just open the doors and say, hey Google, hey Amazon, please install your operating system? Wouldn't they be kind of giving up ground that can never be reconquered if they opened the door like this?
They might have to do it in the end, I don't know. But I would not advise them to do that. I would advise them to collaborate, to try
together
to develop an operating system together. But if they fail with this, then I'm convinced that they have to open it like Nokia in the past. They also had their own operating system until Android.
Symbian, yes.
And so that it will not work in the end. Because when you buying a BMW instead of a Volkswagen, you want to have in the end the same operating system.
And this is also a function of time, isn't it? I keep hearing from CEOs of European car companies that the race for autonomous driving is already lost. Waymo is unbeatable today. Unbeatable today, and the best hope that a European car maker can have is to collaborate with Waymo, which is Google, to be able to have an autonomous car out there on the street in reasonable time. If they had started earlier and had risen up to the challenge earlier, then they wouldn't be in that dire position, would they?
Yeah, they probably haven't read Clay Christensen, Innovator's Dilemma.
Yes.
So I was in, by the way, I was in Harvard before, for a course with Clay Christensen. Before I started with the platform, I went to Harvard to learn how this disruption works, and they might have gone to Harvard too.
Yes, and to finish up, Gisbert, because our time is running out, you have always been very active personally in understanding what's happening. A recent book coming out is called Looking Around Corners, I think it's called, from Mrs. McGraw. Is mentioning the Kloeckner case specifically. I've written about it as well. You are still spending a lot of time in Silicon Valley, and one of the next weeks we're going to spend an entire week at Singularity University in Mountain View. First of all, why do you do this? And second of all, do you meet any CEO colleagues from Germany or Europe, or are you Mutterseelen allein, as we say?
Yeah, first of all, I always try to learn. And so I think I have to learn also more now how the future might look like in 10 or 20 years, even being 60. And secondly, I don't meet that many. I think in the Singularity course, I'm more or less the only German in this
Which is strange.
Course.
Which is really strange, considering the magnitude of the problem we already have.
Right.
So we're wishing you luck, bring back some insights, and bon chance, as they say.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. After you.
Thank you.
All right, 2 more sessions to go on this stage here. I can't believe how quickly the day's gone. I don't know about you. We do have next a very interesting discussion about the successes of Vice with Dominic Delport. So please do stick around for that. See you in a minute.